Howdy, everybody. How's it going? It is Annette the Peacemaker coming to you live from the Yang Gang Report and also from Twitter and also from YouTube. And today we are here. Faye, my partner Faye, and I are happy to host Sass, who we have had on before, roughly a little less than a year ago. We were trying to figure it out earlier, like 9 to 10 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, 9 months to the day.
9 months to the day. That's amazing. And then below me is Mr. David Anderson Jr., and I just met him about 5 seconds ago. So hello, everybody, and welcome.
Yes,
And
so
I
met
go from here and introduce them a little further.
Well, I met David Anderson on Twitter, and he was interesting to me because he turns out to be a Freedom Dividend UBI candidate out in Texas. And since I live in Texas, that really, perked up my ears. And so I reached out to David to see if he would come on. And at that time, he was possibly going into the same race as Sass. So then I thought, well, how about we get both of them in here and we can talk things out and, have a great conversation, because it looks like you two have policies that are very similar and very aligned with each other. So I thought we're going to get some really good candidates here in Texas. So the last time we talked to Sass, the redistricting had not been done and all this extra gerrymandering hadn't happened. But of course, every time we redistrict, it gets gerrymandered. So we've ended up with some really interesting districts. And after the redistricting happened, Sass was able to choose which district he would like to run for. And so were you, David, right? I mean, this is a difficult decision because it's kind of, why don't you two tell us about how you came to your decisions about where you decided to run ultimately? Let's start with Sass because we've,
Yeah, because I know David has some special news to share.
Yeah.
So I mean, the goal from the beginning for me was always to run in a district that did not have an incumbent. So I kind of saw this all coming of like that. I mean, a year and a half ago was really when I really started planning it all. Is I was like, okay, I want to run for political office. What do I want to run for? And I kind of figured out. I was like, well, Texas has grown more than any other state. Austin has grown more than any other city. We're going to get a new district. It's going to be near where I live. And that means that one way or another, there's going to be a district around here without an incumbent. And that means that there's like an actual opportunity to win a race. And there's an opportunity to do something different because the division that was really starting to just really, really take off. I felt I could really do something different here, particularly in Texas. And so that's exactly what happened. The districts got drawn. They technically still haven't even been finalized yet. At first, we thought maybe there was an opportunity for them to change, but then that kind of disappeared. And so Texas 35, which is currently Lloyd Doggett, he decided to switch to the new Texas 37, which is basically the west half of Austin. And so then I was like, all right, cool. Then I'm going to run in Texas 35. And that was about a month ago. When that all went down, and so now we're in Texas 35, and it's about as simple and straightforward as that. Yeah.
All right, guess it's my turn. Like I said, I started about it.
Before we head into this, David's, Annette, will you help me share the Texas 35 map?
Oh yeah, and if you just go on,
I wonder if I can make this bigger.
.com and scroll down on that first page, you'll see the new line.
No, it's not easy.
No, it's not going to show that.
So I can get it like small like this, but I can't. It's harder for me to get it bigger.
Yeah, and that might not be the new one either. Oh,
it's not.
That is the new one. But if you
gotta go to TexasRedistricting.com.
Oh really? Texas redistricting.
Yeah. Type in Texas redistricting in the Google search.
Mm-hmm.
Did they put it on the
type
government
it up,
site
it should
yet?
pop up. Yeah, the first one.
Did they put it on the
Then it
government
should
site now?
be C2193. The third. No, go up. Scroll back up.
All right. This is as far up as I can
Yeah.
scroll.
Do you see where it says Plan C12? Like that one? They're right there.
C2193.
Yep.
Whoa, now we're getting somewhere. All right. So I got to kind of zoom in. Oh, that was too fast.
Yeah. I think it's frozen on the stream.
Oh, it is?
Frozen. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm starting to see some stuff pop up. There's 35 and there's 21. I got both of them on the same plan. How about that? All right. But it's showing it on a different place. I'm going to bring it over here. Here we go. Is it working now?
Oh, yeah. It's coming up now.
Okay. And now I'm going to have to come in more gently. Okay. Until I get yours to show up here. Okay. 35 and 21 on the same map. How did I do it? Finally.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. So, David, you want to tell us about your district? You've chosen this Texas 21, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. So I made the decision to switch from 35 to 21 earlier today. The reason I decided was because after looking at the field of amazing candidates at 35, no matter who wins 35, the district will be in good hands. And that was my goal from the and that was my goal from the start. It was just to make a change in the district and to bring new ideas. So after all these candidates starts up at 35, I was like, well, you know what? It'd be a fresh, new, young, progressive face. So no matter who wins, it'd be taken care of. So I was looking at 21, and I was like, oh yeah, Chip Boy has to go. He has to go. And
so you're talking about there is an incumbent in 21, and it's a Republican candidate.
Yep, it's a Republican candidate named Chip Ward, and if you're into politics, we all know Chip Ward has said some questionable statements, a lot of questionable statements before. And so now my goal is to try to flip 21 so we can have two brand new progressive districts side by side.
I think that's very brave of you because you could have said, I'm just going to stay in this one district where there's a lot of good candidates, but there's no incumbent to fight against. But you decided you were going to go ahead and take on somebody else and flip two. That's awesome. That's really, I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
So the reason I brought both of you on originally is because I had noticed both of you had the universal basic income in the form of the freedom dividend as part of your as one of your policies, as one of your major priorities. How did you both come to decide to put how do you decide which policies are your goals and your because there's so many of them, there's many different things you could choose from, but you decided on certain ones. Do you want to go first, David?
Oh, yeah. So when I first got into politics, I was first looking at running for office. The first thing I did was drive around the district. And when I was driving around the district, I was talking to local business owners, community leaders, HOA presidents, nonprofit leaders, and I came to a conclusion that all of them was facing the same diversities and the same problems. So as the months were going by, I chose my top 13, my top 13 issues, and took it from there. But as I know, switching to 21 from 35, the issues are different because in 21 it's more farmland, it is more rural. So my main thing in 21 is going to be infrastructure because most of these counties sell one hospital and I think it's one hospital for every 3 counties, and most of the hospitals are not trauma hospitals, and they got to fly into San Antonio. So now I'll be spending most of my time in the real hill countries trying to change my policies up to see what's best can fit to 21.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a rural area that's similar to the hill country, but not as nice, because I remember driving through the hill country, visiting some of my relatives on the other side, on Zephyr's side, on my
Hmm.
son's side, and they have really nice little, it's like a vacation area for people out of San Antonio. There's a lot of people who go out there for fun, and there's also a lot of really wonderful residents. But it's an area that's pretty arid, right? It's very
Hmm.
dry, and like every other rural area, they do not have really good internet services. They don't have good hospitals, so they're lacking, like you said, a lot of infrastructure. I wonder if their water is good.
Yes, that's something I'm gonna have to look into. I will be spending the next week going to the different counties and talking to the local Democratic parties up there to try to learn the issues and better get to know the communities. But the ones I have been to, some of them don't even got roads. Like the roads are still them old, like them old school dirt roads.
Well, I learned real fast that, living in, I live in Palestine. I
Hmm.
have to, everybody wants a truck out here because they have dirt roads, leading up to their homes. So it's not easy to, if you have a regular little car that's built for the city,
It's
it
not
may
gonna
not be
make
able
it.
to get everywhere that you want to go.
Nah. You
Maybe
need a
not even
truck, a
home.
Jeep, or SUV out there.
So that's an expense. And in the rural areas, people are not necessarily wealthy.
Nah. Most of the times in most of these counties, it's like one or two good jobs, and most of the time the good job is like a factory job or working for the local school. It's really, I think in my district I have Shriner University, yeah, Shriner University and Texas Tech University, Kerrville are like my two biggest colleges up there. But most of the time, like you said, most of the people work for mom and pop shops, um, work for the local family business, the hardware stores. And when people do get these factory jobs, they stay there for 30 or 40 years because it's the only thing they have.
So, have you been out to Hill Country also, Sass? I mean, you live in Austin area, right? So,
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I mean, my district is or District 35 is, if you saw, it's like the east half of Austin, and then it thins out and it just goes down I-35 through San Marcos, New Braunfels, and then into the center of San Antonio. So there's not a lot of rural in my district, which is actually a little bit fortunate for me. Not because I have anything against rural, but because I have an electric vehicle that doesn't have a very long range. And so like getting out there and getting back was going to be like a big deal. And it was like, I might have to like I might have to lease a car or something. Like it was going to be a whole thing. But so now I think I'm not going to have to worry about that. But that was mostly just a logistical issue. There was really no other reason. So no, I haven't really made my way out to the boonies very much yet. But I would like to actually like ask a couple things with David. Number one, like I think the water thing is super important. I know you said you were going to look into that. I'd also love to find out about waste management. That's something I've been getting really interested about with rural communities, and like there's some places in the country where people just have to burn their trash, and I just love to understand that better. And then also thinking about like dirt roads. I'm sure there are plenty of people who want their roads to be paved, but I've also heard of people who want dirt roads because it keeps people from driving nearby them. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm always into self determination, and
Hmm.
then also I have a thing on my site about food deserts that includes helping local farmers to form co-ops and then connecting them with food deserts as like exclusives in the supply chain to help support
Hmm.
both farmers and address the food deserts. So I think that there are urban contexts in which that applies as well for sure. But I think that could potentially be really huge for rural places as well. Food deserts are really becoming a problem. So so I didn't
so
mean
how
to derail the
does
conversation, Faye.
that? You didn't derail it. I mean, the conversation can be organic.
Hmm.
So, Sass, I was asking you whether you've been out to Hill Country because one of the things I see is that people from the big city really don't have much reason to ever head out into the rural areas. Whereas at least the hill country has some, really nice little restaurants and little stops. So people do go out there for vacations. Whereas like where I am, like people only come up here for the railroad. We have like a couple of little special fairs and things like that. So if somebody shows up in town, they're here for, a weekend and then they take off and they're here just to. So I was wondering if David has spent much time there also. So yeah, this is like I feel like if the rural areas always feel very neglected to me because the politicians in the big cities don't come out to us.
So when it comes to the hill countries, my dad's side of my family, they from Tyler, Texas. So we kind of grew up in the hill country. Like my dad's side is from Tyler, Texas. So like every summer, every vacation, we used to go up there. And my mom's side is from St. Marcus. So like I have a lot of family in the hill countries. And I've been up there a couple times. I learned how to ride a horse. I learned how to ride a horse out there. I learned how to swim out there. So I've been out to the hill countries a lot, but when it comes to living, majority of my time has been in San Antonio. But like for vacation purposes, like you said, I go to the hill countries.
So yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, what your research brings to you, because I feel like that's something that the Democrats are really missing, is that rural strategy, because the people in the big cities do tend to be more democratic now, even in Texas. But we have so much, rural area in Texas that we have a lot of people who are disconnected from that.
Because I was last time, the couple of people that I have talked to in these counties, most of them said the only reason they vote Republican is because the Democrats don't even try to make an effort to go out there. They said they just go to like the one or two big counties, like the one or two big cities in the county. Like the big cities might have like 10,000 people and they think, oh, if we win these 10,000, I don't got to go to the town that got 600 or the town that got 400 or the town that got 500. And that's the one thing the Democrats are missing. We have to change our planning, because I know you've seen the last presidential election. We won every big city, but lost every country, but lost every rural town.
That's it. That's what it is I can't get my my gang, right, to come out, because I'm gang. I can't even get my own gang to come out from the big city to visit me in the rural area. I always go to them. I always go into Dallas. I go into Houston. I go to Austin, but I can't get them to come out to me. I'm like, I have a couch. Come sleep on my couch and see what it's like, So I hope that you're able to mobilize people to do that. Anyway, so what I heard was you were interested in trying to improve the lives of people there by working on infrastructure like hospitals and things like that. Mm-hmm. And do you feel that the universal basic income would also help to create, the jobs and other things that you were talking about, that infrastructure?
Yes, because with the UBI, let's just say the universal basic income is like $2,000 a month, right? Just for all U.S. citizens, $2,000 a month. Most of the people in these rural counties don't even make that a month, because most of them, like you said, work for these mom and pop shops, and they're barely making minimum wage. But with UBI, the UBI can be like $2,000 a month, and they can take that money and put it back inside their communities, and the communities can start to grow. Because that's the one thing that's missing right now, growth. Because most of my communities got 400 to 500 people, and you looking at them like at the same 400 or 500 people been working the same jobs for like 10 to 20 years and bringing in the same money. Is really no growth. So the universal basic income can help them grow their communities and achieve infrastructure, from hospitals to roads, like Sass said, to waste management.
Yeah, and another point, a town of 500 people at $2,000 a month. I mean, so if let's say there are 500 adults, U.S. citizens, that's $1 million a month that's being added into that community. That can then go toward bringing up new businesses and doing all the incredible things that I trust people to do more than I trust the government to do, honestly, at the end of the day.
I think Annette is,
Yeah, I have a question then that links right to that. So
Mhm.
I live in a very small rural community in southern Arizona, very, very near the Mexican border.
Mhm.
And but we're like an unincorporated town. Okay. So we're in the county, but we don't have like regular county services. We've got a post office. That's like the only government thing that we have here is a post office. And we don't even have post office delivery. Everybody has a post office box, and everybody has to physically go to the post office to get their mail.
Mhm.
And so,
wow.
well, yeah, it's interesting. So, so I was trying to think of so we've got anywhere between 700 to 1,000 people spread out in this, and 1,000 is being very generous. And
Mhm.
I went with 1,000 just to make the math easier. But even with 700 people, so I was trying to figure out a way, like, how could we, because we're not really connected to the county and the state doesn't pay attention to us out here. The only people that pays attention to us out here is Border Patrol. And so how would a small community like mine be able to start a UBI if we don't have any candidates representing us really out here? We don't have anybody that gives a shit about us out here. And so, like, how are you guys going to pay? How do you guys propose that you're going to pay for your UBI programs? And then yeah, that's it. How can we pay for it? That's the number one question all the time.
For me, for me, like I said, it would have to start at the state level. If we can get marijuana legalized in Texas, we can tax that and use that money to go back into our system to pay for the UBI.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only thing I could think of. And plus, I think Elon Musk is building a multi-billion-dollar factory up there by Sass. If we can just start taxing, because Texas has a lot of billionaires, tax the billionaires, tax their companies, and legalize marijuana, we would have more than enough money to fund UBI. Then when it comes to counties like yours that doesn't have candidates, we have to start recruiting. That's the one thing the Democratic Party doesn't do. We like to keep the incumbents in for so long and don't like to bring in new faces and new people. We have to start recruiting so we can actually get people inside these rural counties that actually want to run for office and believe in the same beliefs we do.
Mm-hmm. I should run for office.
You should, Annette. But both Sass and David are going for U.S. congressional positions where they will be talking not just for Texas, but for the entire country, right? You're going to be representing Texas, but for the entire country. So you have a chance of actually working on something at the federal level, which is what I think is the correct level at which to pass the first real UBI. What do you think, Sass?
I agree with that. I think below the federal level, we're mostly looking at pilots, which I support absolutely. You're going to see that happen in cities more because it's where the money is. But the reason that a true unconditional basic income really needs to happen at the federal level is because the real money, the real money, is sitting with national and multinational corporations. That's where the real money is. It's not with the billionaires. The combined net worth of the two largest American corporations is greater than, the combined market cap of the two largest American corporations is greater than the combined net worth of all 735 American billionaires. So it's really the corporations. So my plan is based off Andrew Yang's. So it starts with a value-added tax. So that's a consumption tax applied at the point of sale, much like a sales tax, but the big difference is that it also applies to business transactions. So every Facebook ad, Google search, robot truck mile, Amazon purchase, whatever, we take a slice off all those, and that money gets put directly into the pockets of people What's another name for people? Consumers. What do they do with money? They consume, they spend it. A lot of it will stay in their communities, but some of it will trickle up, and then you take another slice off and bring it right back down. So the government's just facilitating this the cyclical flow of money through the economy. We don't need to necessarily add new money back in. I'm not against printing money to help pay for UBI, but I'm just saying it's not necessary in the U.S. We can do it without that. And I can go into more details about breaking it down because there are other parts of paying for it that I have, and my plan actually overfunds it because I know that we're not going to get everything that we ask for, and so I'm starting with a very big ask, knowing that we're going to get hit down. But for sure, yeah, that's about where my head's at.
So I think one of the things that we have in Texas is we have a lot of people who, feel that it's important to be fiscally conservative in some sense, even when you're a Democrat. Is this a thing that you have to overcome when you're running in Texas?
I'll say it depends on where you run at, though. I really say it depends on your district, because like for me, I'm going from a strong Democratic haven in 35 to a real conservative 21. So I'm gonna kind of have to be. I can't just be in like in 35. I was in spend money. If I do that in 21, I'm gonna have a very short political life. Because most of the times.
So my thing is, the money that you're spending in the U.S. Congress, though, is not Texas money.
Money, it's the country's money.
So that's why I kind of find it weird that in Texas, people want you to say that you're not spending money, but isn't it the point? Isn't the politician's job to get the money from outside sources and bring it home, bring it back to us? Isn't that part of our job?
That's pretty much in the job description. Last time I checked it pretty much is in the job description. But as we know, most of the times, us getting federal money to spend on the country, it pretty much ends in the U.S. Either ends in the U.S. House or the U.S. Senate. As we see now, like Joe Manchin is really holding up. Joe Manchin has held up the Build Back Better bill for how long now? Like most of the times, it's pretty much personal views and personal views of politicians that stop us from spending federal money.
So yeah, because it seems like his state, the Poor People's Campaign did a whole thing in his state with people from the state, basically saying to Manchin, "Hey, look, you're saying we don't want the money, but we're here to tell you we do want that money. Get it for us." And he's not doing it.
Right.
An unconditional basic income program at the federal level would increase the budget, but it would reduce spending because the government's not spending the money. The people are spending the money. Unconditional basic income is a reduction in government spending, despite the fact that it's an increase in the annual budget. And I think that is really important. I think that's a really important way to frame it and powerful by saying, yeah, I'm with you. I don't want the government wasting all of your money. I want you to have it instead. I want you to decide what to do with it. I think that's the message that I would try to sell. And a lot of it too, like even the term like fiscally conservative is just like this term that among many others that has just been distorted. It's like, just pick whatever words you want. You don't even have to call it a universal basic income. You can call it monthly stimulus checks, like whatever, it's the same thing. And so a lot of it is just about like avoiding these buzzwords that have just been kind of like twisted and distorted to mean things that they don't mean. And then you can sell the same things because at the end of the day, it's like if you're helping people, like you said, this is the first thing you said, David, was like they feel like they're being ignored. But it's like if you help people, if you actually help people, then they'll vote for you. We just saw this with Democrats in this 2021 election. Is like Democrats were losing all over the place. Why? Well, I'll tell you. For me, like my understanding of it, I received more aid in the last 9 months of the Trump presidency than I received in the first 9 months of the Biden presidency. Now, I understand that there are more people involved in that chain and why that happened, including our governor and some of his actions. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the thing that matters to people. And it's like, if you want people to vote for you or for your party, then you just need to help people. And if you do that, I think it's a winning strategy.
All right. I asked Annette to put up your website here. I think it's called voteforsass.com.
Yep.
All right. And people can find out more about you here, especially in regards to your platform here. You have put your 4 pillars.
Yeah.
Now, these 4 pillars seem to pretty much mirror the Forward Party. I mean, we had a little Twitter exchange.
Yes.
Pillars.
I wrote this before the Forward Party existed.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So it looks like what you're focusing on is, I mean, primarily we'd like to get that universal basic income, but before we can get much done, it seems like we also need to deal with voting method reform and government accountability, and then just addressing the divisions. These are you're like, I need to handle how voting and how democracy works first.
Yeah, and these all work together. These all go hand in hand. So like to get UBI, like I'm gonna need to get legislators to vote on it. And so like I have a 21st century approach to getting around some of the gridlock in Congress by effectively bribing representatives with votes instead of bribing them with money, in a kind of robust, data-focused way with a 21st century approach. That will help us to get UBI, getting better candidates in place. It's voting method reform, directly addressing division. Like this is just about unity, and there's some other things that kind of do that. But then universal basic income, whether we're talking about pilots or federal level, state levels, whatever, you pull people out of poverty, you get them out of that scarcity mentality, you get them out of that survival mode. Their minds will be less susceptible to dangerous rhetoric, and they'll be more ready and accepting to work together with people, and they're going to be less about trying to hold on to what little they have, and they're going to be in a more people are going to be kinder is effectively what it comes down to. If people are not hanging on for dear life, then they finally have the capacity to be more productive and to be kinder human beings. So it all works together. And I can go into more detail about any of them, but yeah, for sure, these are the 4 that I've highlighted, and are really, really important to me. And I see this as my A tier stuff. This is my platform. All my policy stances are B tier. And that includes things like healthcare and the environment. Like those are super important, but we haven't been able to move on any of that for a reason. And it's because we have these mechanical roadblocks in the way that we need to fix first. And once we get that, then we'll start getting all the other stuff done.
Mm-hmm. So I see under policy, you have a lot more, things to say.
Yeah. And there's more I want to add too, but yeah.
Yes. So this is kind of like when Andrew Yang was running for president or for mayor, he would have a lot of policies that he would put together. And this is how we hope that people will connect with our new politicians is on the policies. And this way you can actually hold them. We can hold you, to account because you've stated what your policies are up front. So if somebody donates to you, they're donating for these policies to appear. And, they're not, you're not waiting for corporations to bid for you.
Yes,
and bid for your attention.
Absolutely.
Same thing with David, I believe. But David, I'm going to share David's. I'm going to share David's Facebook profile because his website is getting a little update. So let me bring that up. Are you able to see it with me?
Yep.
All right. So I see that, getting notified. I see here, the first thing you talked about here is switching congressional districts. All right. Mm-hmm. And I see that you've been down here putting together some of your own policies here. And I noticed that you're very pro-choice here.
Oh, yeah.
Is this going to be a continue to play for you even in Texas 21?
Oh yeah. No matter where I was gonna be pro-choice. I'm from a big female majority family. I got way more. I got way more aunts, female cousins. I'm just from females just running in my bloodline. So no matter where I was gonna be at, pro-choice is gonna be my one of my number one topics.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're very strong on this. And
Mhm.
also, then we've got your basic income here.
Mhm.
At right now, it's still a proposal for $1,000 a month, but that's a basic. We can go up from there. We can't go
Oh yeah.
down. Yeah. And then we've got here mental health, but this is the part I found interesting. You grew up with two disabled parents.
Oh
And you
yeah.
want to tell us about what types of policies you're looking to to help disabled people?
See, growing up, we didn't. So, a little background story. My mom was fully paralyzed. She had a stroke while she was teaching her third grade class, and that left her fully paralyzed until the day she passed away. And my dad had COPD with congestive heart failure. Then to go in further, my sister was a disabled vet, so pretty much my whole family was disabled, and we pretty much didn't never get no funding until like years later, and that was the one thing that hurt us. If we would have had funding to actually help from the state or the federal government, my parents would have got the medical attention they needed sooner than us having to go to like Sam's Clubs to buy pads and ensure this and putting their feeding tubes was could have been prevented if the state or the federal government would have some type of programs in place to help us. And the one thing that actually made that kind of got under my skin. So both of my parents was on Social Security, fixed incomes. Just to get Social Security, they sent both of my parents to 3 therapist appointments to make sure they're disabled. I'm like, y'all could have looked at them in the hospital that they were both bedridden to see that they was disabled. Why do I have to take my parents at the young age of like 10 years old in a state funded taxi? What sucks? Because they would drop you off and not come back till late at night in a state funded taxi in the Texas hot summer with a feeding tube tied to them just so a therapist can look at them to say they're disabled or not. And like I just say, like the system is just so corrupt that it makes no sense. So I really want to do a whole overhaul of the way the federal government treats disabled people.
Do you believe that a universal basic income would be an important part of that one? Because that's something I think about all the time, is that the people caring for somebody with a disability also, gives up their financial position and receives, no support from the state.
Oh yeah, because if we had a UBI, that would have made up for when my parents both lost their jobs. Like I said, my mom was a teacher and my dad was a mortician in the funeral home industry. But when both of them got paralyzed, both of them had really good jobs. Now it's to we're standing in food bank lines, we're standing in church lines just to get food and clothing. But if we would have had a UBI, that would have helped us offset the loss of their incomes.
So,
Yeah, I'm a
yeah.
disabled person, and
Mhm.
I used to own a business. I used to own a beauty salon, and then I had cancer and chemo, and like I had to close down the business, and then my husband quit his job to become. Once I was all done with chemo and the cancer was gone,
Mhm.
then he quit his job as a truck driver so he could stay home and take care of me because now I'm like
Mhm.
permanently disabled from the everything. And but yeah, like he doesn't get paid for being my caregiver at all. And he's able to work part-time. He works about 4 hours a day. That's about all he can really kind of be away. Like you can't tell by looking at me right now, just my little headshot, but like I got a lot of issues.
Mhm.
And so like I need him to be with me like almost always. And it's really frustrating. So UBI would like change our whole entire world, just our whole world. And I'm getting cut off my Social Security disability. So November, this is my last month for SSDI, and they're kicking me off SSDI. So then I had to go acquire a disability attorney, and she took my case. And so that's going to be anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half before we
Okay.
even see a judge. And so I have to jump through like 5,000 hoops to prove that I am still permanently disabled this month and will be until I die. And it's just crazy. So I'd rather not jump through all the hoops and just have the UBI, and then I don't have to prove anything to anybody, and I can just live my life the way I want to live it. And so that's my input on that.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how limiting that can be, like how mentally taxing that process is. Like, and it is hard to appreciate if you haven't gone through it, that like it's more than just a little bit of time out of your day. It's like there are many levels to it, like spanning all the way up to just like the general, like, wow, my entire country just sees me as not worth being able to stay alive.
Right.
Right? Like that's every time you have to log on and enter something in, every time you have to send an email, every time a check comes late, it's just like this very big, like, oh, do I not deserve to exist? Like, that is so awful for human beings in general. And like, again, that's not the only part of it that's awful, but like that's just I think people don't really appreciate just how mentally taxing that piece of it is, and we don't need to do it. We literally don't need to. We can just give people money.
Yeah.
And then there's like the judgment that comes along with like people with food stamps. So I'm in this group on Facebook, and it's called Ask the Audience, and people just like ask questions, and they're really random, sometimes very thought-provoking questions. And one, just like yesterday, was, should people on food stamps be restricted on what food they should be allowed to buy? Like, should they be allowed to buy steaks or candy? Should rotisserie chicken, things like that. And so there are hundreds of comments, like the thread went on all day long, and all these people are like, no, why do we restrict? Why should we restrict what people want to eat? Like, it's our choice what we want to eat. And then people don't take into account, like for me, I'll use myself as an example and my family. So my mother's a diabetic. I am a cancer survivor. When I had the cancer and I was going through chemo, I was prescribed the Mediterranean diet. And that diet included steak, lamb, those fancy pants olives that you get at the deli at the store, like the really nice olives, extra virgin olive oil, all these like fresh vegetables, and so on and so forth. And that's the food that I was assigned to eat. Like, that's what I was supposed to eat. That was my medicine, that food. And I wasn't buying like Snickers and a Coke, but let me tell you, shopping for two disabled people who have restricted diets is extremely challenging. And at the end of it, I want a gosh dang Snickers and a Coke, and I shouldn't have the government tell me whether I should have the Snickers or the Coke or not. You know what I mean? Like, that's like my reward. I usually buy myself like one of those little like 65-cent candy bars at the checkout lane, and I eat myself a little lovely chocolate on my way home after I just spent 2 hours shopping. You know what I mean? And so it's just so insane. Like, so many people think that, oh, you're just a lazy bum on the welfare, and you shouldn't be allowed to like enjoy your life or enjoy your food or like eat nice food. Why should we be restricted to like ramen noodles and mac and cheese? And so like the mentality, the mindset of the country needs to be altered also. So we have all of these other things going on, all this like government stuff that we need to work on, but we need to change the mindset of our neighbors and our own fellow Americans, so they don't look at us and look down upon us like we're some sort of burden on society. Like, I still contribute to society. I still help people. I still have compassion. My life has value still, even though I don't.
You're still a mom.
Yeah,
even though your daughter is grown.
I'm a wife. I'm a daughter.
You're still a daughter. Your mom is around. You're taking care of her. But I think that's why we like these universal policies, because we are tired of dividing all of our country into givers and takers. There's like two sides. There's the producer and then the consumer, and then we say that it's okay to somehow belittle one of them, the one group versus the other, when in fact you wouldn't have either group if you didn't have the other, right?
Yep.
You don't
And
have
everybody is both
you don't have
as well.
Yeah, everybody gets to be both as well. Absolutely. So I know that Sass has another event later, so I wanted to give everybody a chance to first of all, I want
screen.
Let's share this. Okay, so we all know that Andrew Yang is trying to create the Forward Party, but you two have both decided to run as Democrats right now, right? How are you feeling about this Forward Party right now? I know a lot of Democrats have a lot of criticisms, so I thought I would, see how you two feel about it. Would you consider yourselves a forward candidate, kind of, even though you're running as a Democrat?
I'll go first.
I need to go first, Sass. You got to go.
Yeah. So I've been, and Faye, I think you probably remember this, I've been clear from the beginning that I'm running to win, and I was going to make a strategic decision once I knew what my district was. Texas 35, vote 70% Democratic from 2016 to 2020. So this race is going to be decided in the primary and the runoff. It's not going to be decided in the general. And so that's honestly, that's the reason I'm running as a Democrat. If it was 70% Republican, I would have run as a Republican. I don't care. Because these what I'm running on is universal, and it includes all people. These solutions include all people, and I'm not excluding anybody based on their identity or what their experience is. I'm involving everybody in this. I really am representing everybody. In terms of the Forward Party specifically, the one important thing to understand is that the vast majority of third parties in the United States do not run candidates. The Forward Party may at some point, but likely in limited capacity. They're not going to be like these big contenders in 2022. They're going to be supporting candidates who uphold their values. There are definitely some things like the ranked choice voting. I have actively spoken out against. Star voting and approval voting are much better paths forward, and we are currently in conversations with their team. Actually, I believe the Equal Vote Coalition had a meeting with them today, as well as they're going to be having a meeting with some approval voting folks soon. And I actually just joined the board of the Equal Vote Coalition, which is super cool.
Okay. That is very cool. And I'm actually with you on that, because you convinced me that star voting and approval voting would be better than the traditional RCV. I think that it's great that Forward Party is bringing this national conversation about electoral systems. And so I'm okay with, joining in terms of that. The interesting thing is, I don't know if you know that Andrew Yang just joined, I think, Fair Vote as one of their committee members. So that's I see you. Yeah. Not being too excited by that.
I'm trying to. I've recently. Let me ask you a question. Actually, do you know what a round robin is?
I'm not sure. You may have to describe that.
David, do either of you know what a round robin is?
You gotta explain that.
Okay. So I invented a new voting method that the Equal Vote Coalition is likely going to replace their current ranked method recommendation with. It's called ranked robin. So how it works is you rank candidates, and then you just elect the candidate who wins more head-to-head matchups, or wins the most head-to-head matchups against other candidates.
Oh, so is it kind of like, so when I was in high school, I was a wrestling cheerleader, and dated a wrestler, right? And so they've got all the matchups at a wrestling tournament, and you've got these two guys against, and then this guy goes against this guy. So it's kind of like that. And then at the very end, you've eliminated all those extra guys, and then it gets down to just the last two. And then
you do every pairing, right? So when you have ranks from everybody, that's enough data to just at large just say like, if the candidates say like Ava versus Bianca and Ava versus Cedric and Ava versus Deacon and Bianca versus Cedric and Bianca versus Deacon and Cedric versus Deacon. So all 6 of those matches, you just look at all of those and whichever candidate has the most wins in each of those matchups tallied is then elected. So it's exhaustive. It uses all of the data. You're free to rank candidates equally. So it's more expressive. It's simpler, sexier, and a big roadblock to why it hasn't been invented in the last 600 years is just because nobody who has cared about nobody who has known the science, or I should say this, the people who know the science are fans of score voting methods, generally. And also there's been a very unfortunate culture in voting science of not actually caring about voters. Fortunately, that is changing in the modern day. And so like this is the newest, oldest method, right? We've known the math behind this for forever, but just nobody has ever really put it together in a cohesive way. So that's what we're doing right now. And hopefully the idea is to give Andrew a kind of an out, because he has spoken positively of Star and approval, but because he's just gone in so heavily on ranked choice, it's just like it's a difficult political thing for him to just like throw it away as strong, like and be right. So it's like we're trying to give him like a path. So that's
very there's an Asian concept for that. Chinese people have a concept of giving people a way to step off the platform that they have already built themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
下台阶. So it's basically exactly what you said, giving somebody a way to get off of the platform that they've put themselves on. So, David, how do you feel about the Forward Party? Would you consider yourself a forward candidate? If the idea is if you're for these six principles, then you could consider yourself a forwardist.
And you can be a forward Democrat, a forward Republican, a forward whatever. So you can still like run as a Democrat, but you could, if you align with those principles, then you could be a forward Democrat.
Like the only one I don't agree on, like the only one I do not agree on is ranked choice voting. Like I would go with a whole nother method. I just don't like ranked choice voting because we've seen how it turned out in the New York mayor race. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't do that. And the one thing about it is, right now, like Sass said, it's about strategy. I would consider being a forwardist like a couple years down the road, but like as of right now, if I move to a forwardist, it would just be me trying to get the party name out. It wouldn't be about trying to win. It would just pretty much be me just trying to get the party name out and come back around for the next go around. But the goal right now is to win.
So I kind of agree with you that there's something a little off about this ranked choice voting, but what about this open primaries? How do you guys feel about open primaries?
So it's a specific implementation. Like it's, first off, it's the wrong thing to focus on. The thing that matters at the end of the day is eliminating vote splitting. So whether you're eliminating vote splitting in general elections, whether you're eliminating vote splitting in partisan primaries, or you're eliminating vote splitting in nonpartisan primaries, eliminating vote splitting is a thing that you want to do, and that comes down to the voting method. So I'm not necessarily against it, but the way that they're doing it is they're doing top 5 nonpartisan primary, but they're using choose one voting to pick the top 5, which is like, what? So you're going to go to all this trouble to implement this incredibly expensive and difficult to administer voting method, but then you're only going to use it in the general, and so then people are going to use a different voting method in the primary from the general. Like the whole format is nonsense. It comes from Catherine Gell. She's the one who invented it. And the weird thing about Catherine Gell is basically like the way I like to think about it is like everybody who gets into voting science at some point starts inventing new voting methods. But usually what happens is they go and they post it on one of the forums, and then and like they're super confident that they just fixed voting science. They just fixed voting, and then they get debunked by everybody, and they're like, hey, you haven't thought of anything new. This is like a bad for 1,000 reasons. But Catherine Gell never went through that part. She just decided to like start a campaign about it, and because she had like money and influence, and it's also like very smiley and knows how to actually talk to a camera, unlike everybody else in voting science. She's managed to be able to push this forward, which is very unfortunate. But she has expressed some passive interest in star voting. So hopefully at some point and this was actually on the Nerds for Humanity stream, where that also had Sarah Wolf talking about star voting and Aaron Hamlin talking about approval voting. So we're hoping that I need to pressure Sarah Wolf into messaging Catherine to have another conversation about it, but about star voting. Yeah, for sure, there's this is like I said, this is a system that doesn't work, and it got pushed forward because she just didn't go through the normal steps that most voting enthusiasts go through.
Well, I think that the best part about that particular part of the platform is that it really is going to create conversation everywhere. And we're going to decide as a nation, not the party. You know, Forward Party isn't going to decide for us. We as a nation are going to decide in every single locality where we have elections, you know, what is the best voting method. But it will have had that conversation because of the party, you know, asserting, even if it's something that we disagree with, it's better than asserting nothing and saying nothing about voting. So I'm pretty much, that's where I'm at with that. So I'm all about going around.
I would like to learn more about all these different alternative voting methods, because I don't know enough about it myself. And I know that there's people that are even less engaged in politics and voting in general. So I feel like we need to continue to keep making these videos and talking and things like that, and continue educating people on all the different alternatives, so we know how to make those choices. You know, so I don't know which one to support right now. Like, star voting sounds lovely to me. You know, like, I'd just pick it because it sounds cute, and that's not the right reason. You know, but
because
honest, people think like that.
We're probably going to have to let Sass go so that he can get to his next event. But I also wanted to let everyone know that Sass created several excellent TikToks. Is that right? And
yes. And I posted on YouTube too. So whether you want to go on TikTok or you want to go on YouTube, you'll find it on whichever platform you prefer. So
how do we find you on, let's say, TikTok?
I believe it's Sass Official. Hang on, let me double check it. I got it right here. Yep, Sass Official on YouTube, or sorry, on TikTok, and then on YouTube, if you just search Sass for Congress, you'll find me on there. I do not have a custom URL yet, but once I hit 100 subscribers, I will. So you'll be able to find those. Well, actually, that's a lie. I posted the TikToks on my personal YouTube channel, so that would be youtube.com/sassinyourclass. Here, let me put it in the chat.
All right. And so these amazing videos that I'm talking about are basically run-throughs of some examples of each type of voting method, like, you know, the vote for one, and then the ranked choice, and then also approval, and also star. So there's like a series of different videos, and each one of them is quite short, as you know what TikTok videos are like. And Sass just runs through it very quickly, and it's quite fun. So if even people who are not really into math, you know, are going to be able to see how it works. So I really appreciate
very visual. I draw it all in a notebook.
Yes. Okay. And so when we say goodbye to, we're going to say goodbye to Sass soon. And David, are you able to stay with us for another 10, 15 minutes, or
yeah, I can.
What do you want to do? Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Well, I didn't get all those links added onto the banner fast enough. So hopefully the viewers will just write down what you just said, because I was trying to throw it in the banner real quick, but that's okay. Thank you so
take
much
a look in the private chat.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to copy and paste, but it was too fast.
Oh.
No. Okay. I'll work on it. Okay. But I wanted to say goodbye. Thank you, Sass, for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and just so you all know, my next event, I'm starting at 6 p.m. Central, so in about 14 minutes here. I'm going to do my own live stream. I live stream every Friday evening. And tonight I'm going to be talking about imagining a world with no intellectual property, which is quite interesting.
Oh, wow. I would love that.
A little bit unintuitive on the surface, but it's when you dive into it, it actually makes a lot of sense.
No, I mean, I feel like
YouTube.
Yeah, so YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, I stream across all of those. So yeah, the Sass for Congress, or you can find me Sass Official on Twitter, or the Sassy Squad on Facebook, or facebook.com/vote for Sass, or Twitch. I'm also Vote for Sass on there, or you just go to my website, voteforsass.com, and you'll find all my social media links there too.
All
So,
the social media links, correct.
everything. You can always, if you're ever trying to find me somewhere, something that's going on, just go to voteforsass.com. That is the central hub. You'll find everything you need to get to. Thank you so much. And it was so nice to see you again, David. I look forward to fighting for the freedom dividend in Congress with you.
That's going to be, it's awesome that you could be colleagues. I love that you have decided, goodbye, Sass. I love that you've decided to pick a congressional district that is adjacent. And so now you two can really be working together, even as you're running for office.
Yeah, and, I like that it's spread out. It's like the opportunity is spread out. There's more opportunity for more people to vote for UBI candidates. So
because
you both win, and then it's like a double whammy. It's great.
Yeah, because I was talking to most of the candidates in 35, and I asked them, I was like, I think we're all young. I think the oldest is like 32. We're all young. Why are we gonna sit in this one district and fight amongst each other, and we can split up? Because as you know, Vela from Congressional District 15 moved to another district, so 15 is open right now for a brand new UBI candidate. Like, it's a lot of districts around Texas that really have no Democrat running. Like, if Louis Gohmert goes to Attorney General, his district will be open.
Even when we have a Democrat running, again, we get one of those fiscally conservative Democrats that look almost like a Republican, and they're much older generally.
They've been in office they've been in like city council, U.S. rep, city council, state rep, state senate, and they've been in politics for so long already. They just gonna run off a name recognition.
Well, I helped a lady who was running from my district in Texas 5 from last a couple years ago, and she made me her youth coordinator for a moment, and I'm 47. But I'm the youngest Democrat in our group, right? So I'm like, I'm a youth. I'm 47. I'm youth. All right, but I'm trying, but I don't have, like there's 2 generations missing in our rural areas. So this is why I'm excited to see somebody willing to travel that distance and get out there into the rural area and, bring democratic principles too.
Don't feel bad about that, because when I first got into politics and I started talking to other candidates, like incumbents and their staff, most incumbents have youth coordinators. I didn't think that was a normal thing. Most older incumbents have youth coordinators on their staff on payroll.
So I was the youth coordinator, and I was absolutely useless. I have to say I was a terrible coordinator because there was nobody to coordinate, and there's nobody here. I'm the youngest one. So I'm thinking, how do I get people from Dallas to come out to my area so we can hang up together,
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, as getting into politics, a lot of these incumbents, like they've been offered, like a lot of these older candidates, they have staff positions that I've never heard of before.
So are you going to get an elders coordinator? Or, what are we going to do for you?
That's a really great idea, is to have an elders coordinator. So, because my mom is an elder, and the only reason she votes is because I make her. And
see, I could qualify for that position because I'm older than you. I could be the youth coordinator on one end, and then the elder.
Yeah, to be able to talk to the older people about the newer type of policies that just blow their minds. Some of these people, UBI, it just blows their minds. They're like, no way, and they just don't understand because people don't take the time to really explain to them how it would benefit them.
Yeah, so me and my staff already talked about that. So we do got a plan. My plan is, as you know, in this little rural country town, it's always the 1 or 2 people that know everybody. It's always the 1 or 2 grandmas or grandpas that know everybody.
Sometimes they relate it to everyone.
Pretty much, yeah. So my goal is to go up there, trying to make friends with them so they can introduce me. And so let's be real. I can go out there and talk about my policies, But if they go out there and talk about my policies, their name will carry more weight. Because, like I said, they grew up there for like 20 generations. They've been in this. Their family been out there having the same farm or the same store.
Are you going to show up at the churches?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be at every church. I know I got Ron. I didn't even know in 21 pretty much the majority of Texas wineries are in 21. I'm gonna be at all the wineries. I'm gonna be at all the farms, the churches, anywhere I'm gonna be at all the Christmas parades, Thanksgiving parades. You're gonna see me everywhere. You're gonna get tired of seeing pictures of me.
I attended the Martin Luther King parade in my town, and they denied me my win because they were going to give out little prizes. Like they had a first, second, and third prize for the best dressed cars, right? And I was one of the only people who decorated my car, but they didn't want people to see this message. They didn't want people to see that he was for the universal basic income, and that Andrew Yang was bringing that year. It was 2019, I think, or 2020. No, 2019. Mm-hmm. So when I brought that message up in our town and walked with my car all around my town, they said we're not giving out a prize this year because nobody decorated their cars. So they denied me because they did not want me to show up in the paper. Now that's what you're going to be up against now.
hey, listen to me. I already realized the stack. It's going to be a really stacked deck against me. Then I pray if I make the general against Chip Ward, that's going to be must see TV. That's gonna be So So the one thing I'm starting to realize about country towns, most of them I'm gonna have to win like I said earlier, I'm gonna have to win their friendship first before anything else. I'm gonna have to win their friendship before anything. This is not like 35. 35 was a Democratic heaven. Like you can, no matter what, Democrats are gonna stand by your side. At 21, most of the people say Democrats don't even come around. And that's the problem.
Okay, in my town, they actually hide. The
Why?
Democrats actually hide. I'm gonna tell you why they hide, and I've asked them multiple times to put their meetings up on Facebook and things like that, so that other people will be called to the meeting, right? Because Facebook will just be there, like there's an event in town. Do you want to come? But they literally hide, and they just tell their own friends over and over again. And this is why we don't have people show up. So we had a George Floyd event in town, supposedly, and nobody told me. And I'm trying to find out. You know, I'm somebody who's actually active and trying to find out about events, and I didn't even find out in time because they hide so hard.
Is there any Democrats in office in your county?
Well, you know,
there's always one Democrat that's in office in every county.
There might be, but I don't know who they are. And also, like, they might be council people, but you know, you don't have to run in a party to become a council person. So,
county are like that one county commissioner that nobody that got voted in.
So I'm with you, and I will show up for you. You know, even though I'm a little far, but I'm going to make it a commitment to sometime make it out to Austin and San Antonio this year and meet you guys in person and help you with something. Okay.
Yeah, come on
I'm
out.
Show up to something. Yes.
Come on out. And if you want to, we can take a good old ride around the beautiful hill country.
That's right. I am going to want to do that. All right. So where do you want people to sign up with you before we close out our program?
To let everybody know, my website will be back up either Saturday evening or Sunday morning the latest. And you can go to my website at davidandersonforcongress.com and sign up as a volunteer. And we'll volunteer for anything from phone banking to block walking to even hosting events. We appreciate anybody that wants to volunteer, and we appreciate everything. Because right now, like you said, we need help.
Okay. Anderson Jr.
No, it's David Anderson for Congress.com.
For Congress.com.
Okay, and if you're on Facebook, because our program is on Facebook Watch, you can go to the banner that was briefly up.
Oh, yeah. And I'm real active on Twitter also if somebody wants to reach me.
Okay.
Well, that's how I met you. And it's not easy to meet other Texans because Twitter is so big. You know,
Yeah.
you just be talking to people and you're like, oh, and you're from where? Thailand, or, but, when I notice somebody's from Texas, I perk up. And then, it was great to have met you there. So I'm so glad you were able to make it today, and hopefully, we'll hear more from you. Good
Oh,
things.
yes, trust me. Y'all see me in a lot of y'all see me in a lot of photos in the Hill Country. Just come on out and visit. We can go visit a nice, like I said, a nice mom and pop restaurant.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
That sounds
I
good.
wish I lived in Texas. I want to go. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody that joined us today. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you to Faye for organizing this event today. And thank you to David and Sass for joining us. And that was a lovely conversation. And I wish you guys all the luck in the world. And you guys are welcome to come back on anytime and let us know how things go. Or if you want to come back on again a little closer to voting time, you're welcome to do that. Okay.
And thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast now. We'll see ya. Whoop.